Meantime, I'm trying to learn about batteries, and like literally in 20 minutes, the guy shows up, and I'm still in my gym clothes, my hair's all afro, I have no makeup on. And the guy shows up, and he's like, "Ma'am, I'll take care of you." And he's got these big brown eyes. There was nothing inappropriate about it, but he was so soft and so loving, and so was like, "I am going to take care of you. Don't worry." He's like, "You know what? I'll give you the best battery, the highest performing battery. I'm not going to charge you an installation fee. And then it's just a little bit extra tax, and it's like 250 bucks." And I was like, wow. I mean, that was like the best price ever, because like I could see that there was one for like 200 and one for like 350. And then my mind kicked in and I was like, wait, what's the catch? And I started listening to this narrative of my mind of like, what's the catch? And I'm like, wait, what's his agenda? Right? All these things. And my spirit just came in and went boom. And it was like, Beth, just receive that this is ease and grace, and that there's this beautiful soul that wants to help you get your battery. And so the point of the story is that I really felt this enormous amount of gratitude that spirit, my higher self, the universe sent me this beautiful soul. It was exactly what I wanted, was somebody who genuinely cared about me and wanted to help me and make me happy. And in the process, he was really cute. And he said a couple of times, I really like your hair. And I thought, wow, my hair is kind of wild right now. But it was a beautiful exchange. And so it just brought forward again how important it is for us to just be kind to other people. And I felt like he was this earth angel that just reminded me of like how much that kindness impacts us, because we don't know what's going on for the other person. We don't know what their mind narratives are. We don't know what their emotional state is. And, it was just a battery, but there was a lot of emotion behind it for me. And he just helped me have like the most amazing day. And so I would say that's what's catapulting my heart, is that when I dropped into it and just allowed the ease and grace of which the universe was providing me and just accepted it and received it, as opposed to sort of fight it with the mind narrative, everything just dissolved into love. And maybe that's what I would say is also weighing heavy on my heart, is that right now there's so much discord and people are so focused on having their thoughts and their views heard that they're not stepping into that energy of unity and of like, being seen and seeing others and finding that magical mix of what that feels like to really acknowledge another person. And so hopefully my little battery story will warm your heart and help you walk out into the world each and every day to have just that softness about yourself and to like show others your love and your light. And even when they try to dampen it or create chaos for us, that we still find a way to just like keep shining our light brightly. Okay, so that's my little story up front. I know we've got some live studio audience questions, but I'm going to jump into a couple that are pre-submitted first. So let's jump into that. Okay. I don't know. Today was like such a fun day because I got a lot of challenges on this little journey. And right now my little phone is not wanting to give me my pre-submitted questions. Did my face change and I don't have facial recognition anymore on my phone? That is so wild and weird. Okay, hold on. All right. It's just challenging my abilities to be live, right? Okay. Would you grab my water? I don't know what I did with my water. First question is, I have a question about heartbreak in business. Years ago, I started a company following my passion. I raised money from friends and gave all I had, including all of my money, but it failed. Since then, I've tried a few things, but couldn't get going because of the PTSD from that experience. I now have a new business idea, and I want to push past these memories and fears. How do I do that? I get how heartbreaking that can be. I've had tons of businesses myself, and I've really worked hard and I've poured my heart and my soul into it. So like when this question came in, I was like, wait a second, is like my higher self asking this question for me too? And I think that is what the beauty is about our minds, is that we learn so much And we have so much to give and to offer, but it's also the nemesis of our minds, is that we, for whatever reason, oftentimes want to remember the failures because they hit us so hard than the successes. And especially when we feel like we haven't had the successes and we're not able to ride that wave. Recently, I was talking with a gentleman who's started multiple companies and had great success at it. And one of his comments was, a lot of people say you learn from your failures. He said, but I like to learn from success. And I really love that sentiment because not everyone gets that opportunity to have success out of the gate. And so we have to find that way to go back into the recesses of our mind, which has then stored trauma in our physical body about these things that didn't work out. And we have to transmute them and let go of them. And so, yeah, okay, it sounds nice. How do we do that? I would start writing it down. If you have an altar or you have a meditation practice, I would take it to the altar. I would write it down and I would rephrase it. I know we do this all the time, but rephrase it energetically. So it's not just that you're writing the words on the page, right? I am, state your name. And I am a successful serial entrepreneur. I am living my life's passion and purpose. I will attract the support, the people that I need. Whatever your declarations are, whatever those statements are, write them down and say them with the passion and conviction that you would if it were already successful. And if you still feel like, I just can't quite get that energy line, because I get that. Sometimes, it's like, it's really hard to just make stuff up out of nowhere. Go be with people who have been successful and then just watch your mind. Because what oftentimes happens is your mind wants to say, oh, they were successful, but I wasn't, right? So with all good intentions, you want to judge yourself and criticize yourself as to why your stuff didn't happen. And that's the mind narrative that you have to immediately stop and say, no, I am not going to go down that road. I'm going to go down the road of seeing the success of which this idea, this project, this business will bring, and having the practice every single day of being in that energy. And if it means you put on your best soundtrack that you want to dance to, and that you really start to just clear it from your body, because we need to be letting go of the energy that we hold and we store, then do that. Go on a walk, go to your favorite store. I mean, I don't necessarily think that the materialistic aspect of life has to always be part of this, but let's say that there's a piece of jewelry that you love in a store, and I would go to that jewelry store, and instead of feeling like, oh, I can't afford that, or and maybe you can, but like how it would come with such ease and grace if money was no object and you could just buy whatever you wanted. You can go to the jewelry store and just feel into the fun energy of having that item, if that's a symbolic way that helps you get into the energy. Again, I'm not saying that because you should be attached to, any materialistic item, of course. I'm just saying sometimes those things like really help us get into the flow and the energy and the fun of being here, the fun of having material items in our life and experiencing life with them, but not being attached to them, right? That's the trick, is that we don't want to be attached to, the external reality. We want to really be anchored in the happiness and our deeper why. Like, why am I here? And I know right now, so many people are asking that question. I'm not suggesting that's for you. It's more for the collective. But why am I here? Like, what am I here to do? You can have lots of money or no money, and you could still be asking that same question with the same pangs in your heart. And it's because you're here for a purpose, and you're here on that spiritual journey and anchoring into that why. Like, why am I here? And keep journaling about it. It sounds like you have your why. So I think number one, just be excited that you feel like right now you have your why. And all of those other ideas that you had that you feel like failed, they were actually mini successes, because they taught you about things that you don't want to do moving forward. Taught you about things that, hey, this worked, this didn't work. And it also is teaching you right now the hard lesson of what are those mind loops and those narratives that I'm not letting go of. And how do I get back into my greatness? And that's writing it down, and that's believing it and believing in yourself through those powerful affirmations and intentions that state who you really are, the goddess that you really are. Okay, let's jump in here. I don't know if we've got someone from the live audience that's ready or not, but if not, I can jump to the next question. Anybody want to jump forward?
Okay, why do I always have to feel obligated to connect with loved ones, that be family or friends, to keep the relationship going?
Why do I always have to say, hang on a second, I just want to clarify that part just one more time.
I feel I'm obligated to connect with them. Otherwise, I won't hear back from them.
For you to
From-
reach out.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So my question is, to keep the relationship going, I have to always be the one to connect with them.
You don't. You actually don't. It's your belief that you do. And if you stop reaching out, which I would recommend that you do, feel into, are they reaching to me, but not from a place of like feeling bad about it, like, oh, they haven't reached out yet. Oh, they haven't reached out yet. Do it from a place of, I'm going to speak to their spirit in another, just bear with me for a second, but in another dimension, right? I am going to call out to them and say, hey, I want to keep this connection with you. But I don't think that you should continue to do it, because I think that when you stop doing it, they're going to feel that, whoa, wait, what happened? What happened? What happened to her? Like, wait, why isn't, like, it might take them a little while, right? Because they're so used to it. And it feels like, I don't know if this is true, but it feels very much like motherly energy, and that they expect it from you. Like, of course she's going to reach out to us, so we don't need to reach out. And there's a possibility that they also think that because you have this rhythm in your relationship for all these years, that this is just the way it is. Like, that why would they interrupt your day, your flow, your whatever to reach out to you when they know you're going to reach out to them? So I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't make it a test, right? It's not like, well, if they don't respond back to me in a certain amount of time, then they don't love me, or then they don't respect my relationship as much as I respect the relationship with them. Like, try to stay out of that mind narrative, because if you get there, then the energy all goes wonky and sideways, right? So I would do it from a very loving place. Like, wow, I just feel like I would really love to be heard, right? And let them start to feel that energy, because I think it's the giving and the receiving that needs to be the same. And you're so good at giving that you haven't allowed yourself to sink in a little bit deeper into actually receiving from them. And so, as an experiment with fun, right? Let them reach out to you. And if you really feel like you need to say something, you can. Like, you can say to them, like, hey, like, I feel like I just recognize that I'm always reaching out to you. And for whatever reason, in my heart, I feel like I would love for you to reach out to me. And they might go, oh my gosh, like, I've always thought about that, but I just never did it because I thought you always called me when it was right for you. So like, we don't know how just stating your truth may actually change the dynamic, right? So I'm not saying like, don't tell them that. I just don't know exactly the dynamic of the people, because it feels like there's multiple people. That's why I don't feel like I'm pinpointing one particular person, and each person might react differently. One person might say, yeah, oh gosh, I really love that you just told me that. And then they might make more of an effort, right? Whereas maybe the other person is someone who you don't need to tell that to, and you just want to kind of sit and let it be. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Giving and receiving, it's always so important. Yeah. And you're a giver. I know that. Big love, give. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from a live studio or live audience on YouTube. How how do I connect with or find my spirit?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you that you've never lost your spirit. Your spirit is deeply embedded within you. And the way that we really awaken our inner wisdom is by unveiling and unraveling the mind. So the mind is constantly chattering, and a lot of people want to call it the monkey mind. I don't really like that word, but those words, but that is really what it is it's like this constant chatter. And honestly, sometimes it's your voice, sometimes it's maybe your mother's voice or your father's voice or someone who was influential in your programs and the installation of your programs when you were young. And those voices are constantly going on. And also, unfortunately, a lot of times for a lot of people, it's the judgment voice that comes across so strongly as opposed to the cheerleader voice. And the cheerleader voice is the one that we want to listen to because that's spirit. The voice that's cheering you on and that knows that you are here to do big things in the world. And big things in the world can mean that you're doing a job that may not appear to be big to others. But as I mentioned in the very beginning of the show, like you could be, well, it's a little bit different, but you could be an employee at Starbucks, and every coffee that you hand over the table to that person, you could make eye contact with them and fill their heart with just acknowledgement that they exist and that they're alive. So I don't think we want to ever discount like what our jobs are. But back to the spirit part. So you are always connected to spirit, and reducing the mind narrative of the judgmental one versus the cheerleader one is the way to feel your spirit more. Now, I want to say something else because I think for the collective, we get rewarded more for the judgmental one than we do the cheerleader one. In fact, in a lot of cases, we actually get chastised, I don't know if that's the right word, but for thinking highly of ourselves, for cheerleading ourselves, for thinking we did a good job. There's an energy in the collective that says don't stand out. Don't think you're too good, right? And then there's another energy that says if you think you're too good, then you're probably a narcissist. Well, and that doesn't have to be true either. In fact, there's a phrase that I have, and I've written about this and I'll write more about this, but I just kind of tongue in cheek talk about the spiritual narcissist, because I think that as really deeply spiritual people and people that we want to make other people happy, I believe innately most humans want to help others be happy, right? They want to be happy and they want to help other people be happy and they want to have great exchanges in life. So that's really where I think we want to anchor in, is into our own happiness, because that's where spirit resides, and allow our spirit to blossom like a flower and to show up as the beautiful flower, not to like try to hide ourselves in the bud, right? But a lot of the collective tells us, no, be safe, hide in the bud, don't stand out, don't show your true colors, don't really show up in the world because someone's probably just going to come and cut your flower down, right? And so I think right now is the time, because the energies are heavy. They're heavy and they're bubbling up that negative mind chatter that is the judgmental voice. And right now we're being given just an amazing opportunity to hear all that bullshit and then make a choice if we're going to let it go, or if we're going to let it go and start listening to the cheerleader, or if we're going to let the two fight. Right? That's what's happening right now for a lot of people, is the judgmental ones coming in and saying da 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 da, and the spirits coming in and saying, no, keep going. Like, what are you talking about? This is good stuff. And so I would suggest not just staying in that fight, but letting it go. And if you need help with letting it go, there's tons of modalities. I talk about it in Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, my book. But I also get into more depth of a lot of these modalities in the Awakening and Healing Handbook. So you can find that on bethbell.me, and you'll be able to find some really great modalities. I know I've talked a lot about family constellation, so it still is coming up in my consciousness to say, because these programs oftentimes go deep. So this narrative is not like just mind chatter. It is actual ancestral programming and energy that's coming from a long time ago. It could be previous lives. It can be a lot of different places that it's coming from. And it's been accentuated by all of the characters that you so eloquently put into your own play as a master creation of your life, right? So the people early on that came in and gave you all the crap stuff and all the good stuff really helped install these programs that then honestly we spend the rest of our lives trying to unravel. So you're in it. I'm so happy you asked the question about spirit, because I think everyone feels like it's somewhere else and it's right here in our hearts. And just start listening to the cheerleader. It's the easiest way to say it, and you'll know that it's spirit. And the hits, like when people say, oh, I've got a gut instinct, that's spirit. That because you're listening somatically to your body. You're listening like internally. Like when you fall in love and your heart gets big and you're so, oh, I mean, like you feel it, right? That is where we want to be, is in our bodies, feeling the hits, feeling spirit speak to us through our bodies. Instead, we get programmed, all of us at an early age, to listen to the mind. And somewhere along the line, we pretty much just operate from here on up, not even knowing, right? Maybe other than the occasional orgasm, like we're not really in our bodies a lot of times. We're just like thinking about everything because we get rewarded for that. We get rewarded to have a brilliant mind. And there's nothing wrong with having a brilliant mind. We just want to have the balance of really being in body, in spirit, and leveraging our mind. That's the best place and the best balance to be in. Hopefully that's helpful. If you're still on with us live, let me know. Is there something more, or are you good? You can give it a thumbs up in the comments. And if not, we'll move on to the next question. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's go. Anybody in the live audience want to ask a question yet, or? Okay.
It might be kind of lengthy, if that's okay. Okay, so has a little backstory. So in my marriage, there has been a lot of like turmoil in the past, a lot of betrayal, things like that. And we were separated for a year and a half. I did a lot of healing. We've been back together for 2 years, and I set a lot of boundaries that needed to be set. But however, I when I came back, I definitely was guarded, which I said, like I said, I set boundaries, but I also was very guarded this time. I wasn't going to just like fall back into the same routine and the same way things were. It just wasn't going to happen. And so for me, it was more like, well, you have to prove to me that you've changed, that you respect me, that you see me, that you're going to show up and, all these things, which he has. And so now I guess the question is, how do I kind of let that love back in? How do I put, the wall down a little bit? Because I do see how much he has changed and how much he does love me and how much he's tried and he wants to reconnect, but I'm like, I'm not really so sure, about being physical. So I just haven't been able to be there yet. Yeah.
Thank you for being so vulnerable to bring that forward, because that is really tough. But I have to say, I am really excited for you, because you've got somebody and someone to work with. If he's demonstrated, that's my number one thing. If they show you that they want to grow and that they want to help themselves, wow, you've got good stuff right there. Totally get how you'd feel like, oh yeah, I don't know if I really want to, jump back into this. And that's your shit, right? That's your like, I want to protect my heart, right? And what came to me as you were talking is constantly tell the truth. And I'm not saying you're lying. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying like it is so hard sometimes for us to identify with our own truth because our emotions get involved, our mind gets involved, our protection mechanisms come in. The truth is, I am so proud of you, honey. I'm just making it up, but I'm so proud of you, honey, for making these leaps, for helping me to feel like you really love me and that you're really committed to us. I still have these chains in my heart. I don't want to have these chains in my heart, but I do. And I know I still have some work to do. But can we just start to be intimate in energy sharing first? Yeah. Can we just and what comes to me and it makes me a little bit emotional, but can we just touch each other's heart? Can we just do that? Can we just like really start to get into the tantric energy of sharing love? Right? Because then you're getting yourselves into your bodies and not into the stories, because there's so many stories there, right? Like, and I gotta say that one of the things I love and I have frustration with as a woman and knowing a lot of women is that we have a photographic memory of everything that a guy has ever done to us and how they made us feel. And I gotta tell you, that guy has no clue. Whoever that guy is, he's got no clue about that dossier that you have against him. And like, he's like, yeah, I was really blindsided but those memories from 20 years ago. Right. And that's where I think we have to like clean up our stuff. We have to clean up those memories for ourselves because they can't clean it up because they don't even know what it is. They don't even know where the spilled milk is. Right. And so I'm not trying to discount any of our memories and again, I'm using it more, like women in general, but because we are the ones that hold a lot of this. We have a lot more shades of gray and a lot of emotion, right? But the more you can just keep speaking your truth, right? Like, can we take step 1? Can we take step 2? The other thing that's coming to mind, and, I don't know where you are on this, but I think one of the things that would be really helpful is if you did a sacred plant ceremony. And there's lots of different things. And the reason why I say that is that the plants come from Mother Nature. They're here to help us get into our hearts, right? Because sometimes we just can't get past those blocks. It's natural. It's normal. They're hurtful. We don't want to revisit that. So there might be a few things that you can do that are just really softening. There's a lot of things that are like kanna comes to mind. It's a plant. It's not illegal. It's not psychedelic. It's not going to take you to another planet, but it's like it just grounds you into your heart. It just kind of helps you feel back into your heart. Cause I get a little bit of fight or flight from you, that there's like this one little move and like, I might be out of here. Right. And he's feeling that, whether he knows it or not, like he's feeling that. So that's making him uncomfortable. And he's like, oh, wait, am I good enough? Like, am I good enough today? Right. And then like when men don't feel good enough, like it's really hard for them to be masculine. And the slippery slope goes fast where they start to feel inadequate really quick and they don't know how to show up for you. Right. And then it's like, then we're back to like the craziness of like not getting each other and not feeling connected to each other. So I think, really speaking your truth in every moment and recognizing when you have a hard time saying your truth. Like, what can you say to a girlfriend so easily, but you can't say to him when you get home, right? Because we can do that a lot. We can talk freely and openly about, and this. And then we get home and then it's like, So it also feels like maybe the fifth chakra needs to just be cleaned up a little bit, like to be able to speak. And there might have been something from your childhood where you were told to not share how you feel, or that you did share how you felt and someone said that you shouldn't feel that way, or don't tell me that, or they rejected you. Like this feeling of kind of like that rejection part. So I think you might have some kind of fear there around your husband also rejecting you, even though he's telling you right now that he wants to be with you and he's doing the work. And the other thing that comes to mind to say is that, and I think this is where it gets really tricky, is that we have a disparity oftentimes in our awakening with our loved ones. We're vibrating at a different level than they are. And that disparity creates a lot of friction and a lot of dis-ease. And so it doesn't mean that we have to leave our loved ones, but it means we have to acknowledge like where they are and love them where they're at, not where we wish they would be, because we also fall in love with men's potential. And sometimes pushing them to reach their potential before they're ready to reach it is debilitating for them. They have, everybody, whether you're a man or a woman, has to do the awakening journey and ascension on their own time.
Right.
So I think we have to just love them for where they are. And if you get to a place where you're like, I think the drag is too much, like I'm just not able to love them where they are, and they're not able to love me where I am without feeling threatened or without feeling like they're not in control of me or my feelings or the marriage, or, you know. So there's that disparity part too that I think you just have to monitor. And then that's where you're like, yeah, because he's growing with you, speaking your truth. And then like, how big is the disparity and how debilitating am I making that for our relationship? Is that helpful, or is there something else that comes forward? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have been able to speak my truth a lot, like, lately, and, just kind of say, well, these are the reasons I am the way I am, I mean, and I'm not trying to hold on to the past, but there are just reasons that I am the way I am. So you have to understand that, because, one of the things that he said in past is like, you're not the woman that I married. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm absolutely not, but there are things that happen that you have to take accountability for. But this is who I am now, So we had long discussions, but anyway, I think he does get that, and yeah, I did. Like I said, he's trying, and I feel in a way that's, like you said, more intimate, like not just diving right in, but just, hugging and like, saying, oh, you look beautiful today, those things. So that's good. But yeah, like you said, we're just, I've been on the spiritual journey for a very long time. So we're just, when we first got together, we were vibing at that same, but we're not anymore, and so that makes it a little harder for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you brought up some really good things there, because we typically connect with someone else based on chemistry, right? And that chemistry only goes so far, so long. But the chemistry is also related to a wound typically that we have, because we've asked them to help us with a lesson. And sometimes we heal the wound and we stay together. Sometimes we heal the wound and we move on. And so the soul contract you have with him, I also think is something to just, again, not like get into that like a super evaluative space, but just like in a tender space in your heart, like, is my soul contract coming to a close with this individual? Like, are they able to really catapult me or support me? Because sometimes like 3D people are so amazing in our lives because they're just realistic. They're just like, it helps all the wheels turn, right? If we were all just, and I'm not saying you're airy fairy, because you're not, you're very grounded and you're very powerful, but you want to use your magic, and you're not using your magic to the degree that you could, because you're shying your magic away from fitting the mold that your husband needs for this to work in your mind. So I'm just saying, I think if you just said, to hell with all of that narrative, I am just going to step into my magic. And if that uproots the apple cart and it makes it so that it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Then the soul contract is over. But holding yourself back to fit a mold for anybody, we do it for our romantic loved ones, our spouses. We do it for parents sometimes. Like we do it for people, and no, like this is where like the time is now to just like, really put the gavel down and like say, I know who I am. I know the work I've done. I know that I'm here to do something big in the world. And again, when I say big in the world, I mean like shine your light brightly. Be that flower, right? Not scared somebody's going to come and cut it. And yeah, and so if he's not able to hold a container for you, and then I know he wouldn't use those words, and I'm not suggesting he would, but then I think it's like, are there other people that can, and I can stay in this, or is the undertow too significant? Like, those are the tough questions to just be more an observation of, right? But also just be a little cautious to not look for things that then kind of put him in a corner to say, oh yeah, you're not the right one.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's really try to think about it from like his inner child space too. And like, well, yeah, how would I'm not saying treat him like a child. I'm just saying like come at it with love like you would for a child. Like to see him, to really see him. Because when you start to really see him, it gives him an opening to really see you. And that's the real important part. There was something else that came to me when you were speaking, but it's not coming immediately back. So if it does come back around, I'll bring it back up. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, men's group. Women, we want to do all the heavy lifting. Get him to a men's group. I mean, if he's open to it, like get him to a men's group where they're still, 3D business savvy, but they also have open hearts and they want to help others on their awakening journey. There's some beautiful ones. And because we are physically in the same place, I've got some ideas that I could share with you if you think you might be open.
Okay, well, yeah.
I know of some amazing men, and yeah, we'll see. Who knows? That'll also probably just be another, it's an offering, right? We're just offering like, hey, here might be something that you would want to consider. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. And I'll put in the links too for any of the listeners. A dear friend of mine has a beautiful company called Radiant Farms, and they have amazing products that are very much heart openers and grounders, and they're fun little. I guess they're like little gummies, and you can read all about them. So I'll put the link in the chat after the live show because those are all completely legal. And if someone out there is interested in doing something that's a little bit more strong and can really quiet the mind in a more profound way and open the heart, go to bethbell.me. I've got the psychedelics resource guide on there. I talk all about all the different psychedelics that are out there. It's up to you to do all the legal things, but there is a lot of beautiful ways that you can partake and legal ways that you can partake in psychedelics right here, right now. So just be sure that you have the right safe set and setting and the server. And I talk all about that in the psychedelics resource guide. So I think you'll find that really valuable if you have any interest whatsoever in doing some plant-based medicines. All right. Do we have more questions that are live? Yeah. Okay.
Well, there was a follow-up question to that first live question. Our viewer was wondering if their spirit may have a name.
Yeah, I think your spirit can have a name, and I haven't ever, my personal is I haven't ever really felt into the need to call spirit another name. A lot of people do, and I guess what I would say is that, and I don't want to get too deep here, but I feel like the person asking the question would appreciate this, that, we have multi-dimensional selves. Ultimately, the ultimate reality is oneness. And I know that's like a concept that's easy to say and sometimes difficult to like truly, truly embody. But in that multi-dimensional self that we have guides and, spirit guides, angels, star seeds. Like there's all these different affiliations that we can tune into that are at different vibrational frequencies that lead us all back home. And so if you want to name any of those guides or, your spirit, if that helps you feel more connected, absolutely do it. I don't think it's necessary, but I think it's beautiful when people do, because I think it just gives them a reminder of who they really are through a name. It's all symbolic. It's all a symbol. So I wouldn't shy away from it, but I also don't think you have to do it. I think you just need to, know that you are, and dare I say, because I know it gives a lot of religious connotation, and I do not mean it in any sense of religion, but, you are God, and you know that you're God, and you are one with God. And that's where we start to connect into knowing that we are all just interconnected and that we're reflections of each other in different forms, different human bodies. And the more we can start shifting into that frequency of understanding that we are God, we are God, we are everything and nothing all at the same time. And it's a big concept to get, and it's the journey that we're all on. Maybe some people aren't on that journey in this lifetime, but ultimately, yeah, we're all on that journey to understanding, to self-realization, right? We're sitting right here near Yogananda's self-realization fellowship. That's what we are doing, is self-realizing the bigness and the beauty of who we are in our light and our love that we can shine out into the world. So hopefully that's helpful with the naming of spirit. Any other live questions, or anyone else in the live studio audience that wants to ask a question, or should I go to the pre-submitted ones? Okay. Yeah, wow. My technology it's not Mercury in retrograde, is it? I don't know what's going on here. I'll get to it. I don't know why, but come on. So strange. My phone is asleep. All right. You know what? I'm just gonna do this. Hold on. Sorry. I don't know what. There we go. Oh, I get it. I think my okay. All right. So next question. You've mentioned that people build fantasies about people that often result in heartbreak. How is that different than planning a life with someone? Should we discard all ideas of the future with a romantic partner and be in serial monogamy? Okay, I love this question for so many reasons. Yeah, so when we first meet someone, we instantly start creating fantasies about them. It could be a friend, but especially in romantic relationships, because everyone's always trying to find, okay, broad sweeping statements, but the one. And the reality is that you are the one, and it's always about remembering that you are the one. And so when you start to I ideate, idealize, this person, this, that, you start to build a fantasy about what you want them to be. And then you just keep stacking that fantasy together. And then what happens is that person can't quite fit the fantasy because that's not who they are, but you created it. And then all these weird and crazy things happen that do result in heartbreak, because you either fell in love with their potential, you fell in love with the mask that they're wearing, that they're telling you that they are, but they're not, but they really aren't. And so it's more about observation, really sitting with someone and getting to know their soul, so that it's not about the storylines about what they do for a living, what car they drive, where they live, all these external ideas about them. Ask them more questions about who they are, what they think, and what do they believe, and how do they feel? Can they feel? Like, are they even in their bodies? Like, where are they on the planet? Are they like out in la la land? Is their whole life wrapped up in their work? Are they fun? Get to know all of that up front. And then when you start to get to that place where you're beyond the romantic chemistry and the luminosity of, feeling oneness with another person and wanting to place all these ideas that, it's them, they're the love, right? And then you go, oh, thank you. I am the love. And you're here to help reflect it to me so that we can share the love together, right? That's what relationships are ultimately for. And then all the lessons in between. So then when we start to understand, like, oh, I know this person's soul. Yeah, make a plan. Make a plan. You can have serial monogamy. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to learn a lot of lessons. But if you have a plan with someone and you want to have that plan long term, make it, but keep updating the plan. It's not no plan is static, because, and it's one thing, I think I have a whole chapter, it's called My Plan versus the Plan, in the book Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, because I always got taught, growing up in the Midwest, like, have a plan, work hard, be humble, right? Like, it was that mentality of like, if it succeeds, it's my fault. And if it fails, it's my fault. And so I took a lot of personal responsibility for that. And so what I started to learn was, wait a second, when I really I have a vision and I have a dream and I have a why behind why I'm here, But when I let go of the details of the plan, which I got highly rewarded for all my life, especially in my corporate life, highly rewarded for having a plan and having 10 options to that plan. But what I realized is even in my corporate life, pretty much all the time, something different came forward. Yeah, I was prepared, but something else happened. And that's how my life has ebbed and flowed. When you get in the magic, you just go, kind of in a way like, the hell with the plan. And I don't mean that loosely. I don't mean that you don't have any plans. I'm just saying that you start to recognize the attachment that you have to the details of the plan and start to release that a little bit. And then life gets easier and you go, oh, wow, okay, wow, that wasn't part of the plan, but I really like that. And I can follow that energy line because my heart's in it. Like, oh, wow, that feels fun. I'm going to do that, right? And how many times have you felt like something was going to be fun and then you say, oh, but I better not do that because it's not in the, right? So I do think as a couple, just be aware of the fantasies you're building and listen to what someone's telling you. They're telling you who they are, right? But a lot of times we don't listen because of the fantasies. And I think that might be where you're coming with this question, was when we talked about that. And then, yeah, when you get to a place where you're like, yeah, let's make a plan. Let's start to make a plan, a life plan. And let's revisit that plan every year. Say, hey, like, what do we want to change? What do we want to do different? You know, what changed for me? How did I grow? How did you grow? How did we grow together? Where did we grow apart? Right? And that way you kind of are working with a real live plan, not like a stale one that's like, let's get the big house and the white picket fence and live happily ever after. It's like, that is the dream that creates the most heartbreak for everyone, is that you don't then meet that dream. That is an illusion. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. If not, yeah, please write it in the comments. And, you know, if any of the people who have submitted questions, if you want to go deeper into this particular question, or you have something else that's big on your heart, I just opened up one-on-one sessions on my website. So you can go there. I also have couples sessions. So if you feel like you're not able to speak that truth, you know, that you want to, but you just feel stifled, whether it's I'm going like this because oftentimes it's our fifth chakra, but it might be your heart chakra, like whatever it is that's stopping you, we can go in and tune in. What I do here on the show and what I do in one-on-one sessions or couple sessions is I tune into your higher self and my higher self and just pull through the insights that your soul is wanting to share with you, that sometimes we just can't hear because we're in the minutia of it. Like, we all need a bit of hand-holding once in a while to really help us step through these things that do weigh so heavy on our hearts. All right. Is there any other live questions coming in that we should address here? And I have no idea what time it is. Okay. So we have so many more questions I didn't get to, but I will put them in next week's queue. I so appreciate you being here on replay. If anything today has touched your heart, please subscribe, hit the bell, get notifications, join us each week. I love having you here live, and go to bethbell.me. The State of the Heart assessment is really fun to take, and it'll help you identify, are you blocked? Are you broken? Are you healing? Are you whole in your heart? It's all about the state of the heart, and we get to the heart of the matter here. Also, if you want a little bit more guidance, we've got the psychedelic resource guide, as I mentioned, and the herpes handbook, which is all about helping us through the viruses of the mind, and also very specifically some great guidance on the virus of herpes and all of the shame and blame and ridiculous things that come with all of that. So with that said, I so appreciate you here each week. I have so much fun, and I hope you'll join me next week, every Sunday, 11:11 a.m. Pacific time. And until then, wishing you much bliss and love on the journey. Namaste.